Welcome back to Double Down University. I'm back with you guys with another MLB PrizePicks video, and today we will be getting our frequent flyer miles in, as we'll be taking 2 flights today for our props. The first flight we are taking is to Philadelphia to check in on Aaron Nola and Bryce Harper. And then we'll also be headed, after that game is over, we'll be headed to Arizona for the Dodgers versus the Arizona Diamondbacks for a crucial game 3. So let's get into it. The 3 props I have for you guys, which is originally 4 as it's stated up here, but one of them, as you can see, is 2 of the same player, and you can't put the same player in the same slip. So as always, if you've been watching my channel, been watching my videos, I always love to hedge, because that is the way to profit no matter what. You know, if something goes wrong, you can always, you know, be able to profit another way using that same pitcher or hitter or vice versa, or whatever prop, you know, whatever player. So the first prop I have for you guys is Aaron Nola over 5 strikeouts. And then also I have Aaron Nola over 25.5 hitter fantasy score, as well as Bryce Harper over 7.5 hitter fantasy score. And as always with my videos, when I post stuff or I just have stuff in my little draft slip, it always gets bumped. At least one prop gets bumped as I'm getting ready to record or recording. So as of like 5 seconds ago, Lance Lynn just got bumped from 11.5 to 12 pitching outs. Another hedge spot, if you don't, I like that line because I think he pitches at least 4 innings, maybe goes into the 5th inning, and I'll kind of touch on him a little later on when I go and discuss his prop. But another way you can hedge him is either you can do his hits allowed, or you can do his strikeouts at 3.5. I think that is kind of low too, but he's not really a strikeout pitcher. But Arizona, they kind of get a little swing happy too. So, but I'll touch more on that as I get to that prop. So those are my 3 essentially, 4 with Aaron Nola being the hedge with his fantasy. So let's start off with Aaron Nola. Let's get into him. So Aaron Nola, this is a really good matchup for him. He is home. So that is a bonus, and I'll kind of, matter of fact, I'll pull that up for you guys too, and just to show you guys the difference for Nola. So Aaron Nola splits home and away. So at home, he is a much better pitcher at home than away, and I'll kind of give you guys a theory on that too as well shortly. So he gives up a batting average of 212 at home, and also his strikeouts is actually less at home than it is on the road. But I'm not too concerned with that, because more than likely throughout the season you probably have more road games than home games, and so it kind of balances itself out. He is doing really good against lefties and righties, giving up a 240, 241 batting average to both sides of the plate. But more importantly, just the matchup between the Braves. We play in the same division as the Braves. I say we because I'm a Phillies fan, but we play the Braves a lot, the last 4 or 5 years, because they're in our division, so we have to see them at least multiple times. But long story short, Aaron Nola has struck out, and excuse me if I'm looking down at my notes, but I have written down notes for each prop. So Aaron Nola has struck out at least 5 batters in each of his last 9 starts versus the Braves. He's pitched in 6 innings in 9 of his starts versus the Braves. So if he gets that length where he goes 6-7 innings, I can definitely see him going way over 5. I can see him getting 6-7 and that nature. And then also you got to take into account playoff baseball in Philadelphia. Especially if hitters are down in the count, they will be more eager to try to swing at something, to try to make something happen in this series. Because of how good Wheeler was the other night, he struck out 10. So that's part of the reason why I like this, because the Braves are a free swinging team. And then also in 8 out of the last starters that the Braves have faced, they have went over their K prop, and the best 2 were Justin Steele. He went over his K prop. He had 6, and then Zach Wheeler a couple nights ago, like I recently referenced, he had 10 strikeouts on Monday. Aaron Nola averages 7.4 strikeouts per start versus the Braves over the last 2 years. And he has at least 8 K, in 5 of his starts against the Braves. So I really like this prop for him. And then just off of the simple fact of what I just told you guys, of I expect him to go 5-6 innings. If he does go 5 to 6 innings and go deep into the game, he should be able to clear that fantasy score, because that fantasy score is more of like somebody that's like an opener where they pitching 3 to 4 innings. Now, granted, in the postseason baseball, there are quicker hooks on a lot of these pitchers. That's why you see a lot of their props super low, because if, let's say something unforeseen happens, like last night, for instance, the pick I gave out was Dean Kramer over 11 and a half pitching outs, which he had to pitch 4 innings, and he ended up getting pulled in like 1 2/3 because Texas just put him in the backwood. They just dominated him. They hopped onto him. So, just be mindful of that, too, with these pitching props. But I just think Aaron Nola is going to deal today. I think, he's in a good spot. He has good splits at home. And then another thing that I've learned from, it's a guy by the name of Oral Hershiser. He used to pitch for the Dodgers back in the day, and he used to call a lot of like Sunday night games for ESPN. And one thing he said, it was like a couple years ago that he said something, and it really stood out to me, is that the Phillies uniform is white and red pinstripe, like candy cane stripe uniform. And what color is the baseball? The baseball is white with with red stitching in it. So it's kind of hard, especially in the day game and night game too as well, to pick up the spin of the baseball when you have somebody throwing the baseball with the same color scheme as the baseball. So it's kind of harder to pick up the spin on it. So that's why you see a lot of Phillies. That's why I always back Phillies pitchers strikeouts at home. It's because of that narrative alone. But I really think Nola deals in this spot. This is a big game for him. This could potentially, if it doesn't go well, could be his last start in Philadelphia or last game as a Philly, depending on how the offseason goes, if the Phillies are going to decide to bring him back or not. So I think that he's going to prove his worth today. Moving on to Bryce Harper. With Bryce, if you guys watched Game 2, which I'm still upset about, because how do you blow a 4-0 lead? But that's neither here nor there. But Bryce Harper has been doing really well in the postseason. He is a hit in 3 of his last 4 games in the postseason. He is batting 333 batting average, so 333 batting average with a solo home run. Right now, Bryce Harper on Sportsbooks is plus 370 to hit a home run. But one thing that I took into account was Ozzie Albies was kind of making fun of Bryce Harper because he got doubled up at second base in the postseason, which is the first time that ever happened in the postseason to end the game, or just in general to have that type of double play from the outfield to to end the game. But I know Bryce Harper, and Bryce Harper is a super competitive, prideful guy, and I just think that tonight he's trying to seek revenge and try to just make things right with how he ended that game. So I really want to back Bryce with a chip on his shoulder today. But also his numbers are really good in the postseason. He's hitting the ball really well. And then one thing that stood out to me too is that he's drawing his walks. Like, he has scored a run in every game this postseason so far, while drawing 4 walks in the last 3 games. Even though he's not very good against Elder so far, but it's only a small sample size. It's 4 at-bats, so Bryce is 0 for 4 and 4 at-bats with a walk versus Elder. But Elder recently, he's allowed 4 earned runs in each of his last 3 starts, and 6 of his last 10 starts, he's given up at least 3 earned runs as well. So, and that includes September 20th, where he walked 5 Phillies batters in 3 2/3 innings. And Bryce has hit this line of over 1.5 hits, runs, and RBIs in 3 out of 4 playoff games this year. So I really like this spot with Bryce. I wish they had hits, runs, and RBIs, but we get the benefit of a doubt, to add in walks and stolen bases as well if he decides to steal. If, let's say, he gets on via walk and he decides to steal second, because one thing I noticed about the Phillies so far in the postseason, especially in this series, is trying to be aggressive on the base paths and try to put themselves in scoring position. If it's via a walk or a hit that they get on first base, they try to advance themselves through either stolen base or just trying to run. If it's like a 2-2 count or a 3-2 count, they try to put themselves in motion to at least potentially score if there was a hit into the outfield. So take that, keep that in mind as well. Moving on to the last prop that I have for you guys is Lance Lynn. So Lance Lynn, which is ridiculous, this stat that I found is that out of the last 53 starts that he's made between the last 2 years, he has never went under 4 innings pitched in the last 2 years, which is ridiculous. But and then it's also factors into this spot as well for them, because the Dodgers are down 0-2 in the series, and they're potentially on the verge of going home tonight. And with Lance Lynn, just how I view him as a pitcher, just overall, he's a really, really good pitcher. He's more of that old school type of workhorse that you don't see anymore. That old school workhorse that throws a lot of pitches, but he's gonna get you through 5-6 innings. No matter what happens in the game, he's gonna get you, to 5 or 6 games. And this is really, really crucial to the Dodgers right now, because the last 2 games, their starting pitchers got, check this out, a big 6 outs. That's all they got in the last 2 games. So they had to really, really work their bullpen. They taxed their bullpen to pitch the rest of those 2 games. So between Clayton Kershaw and Bobby Miller, they only managed to get 6 outs combined, which is ridiculous in a postseason baseball, especially somebody of Clayton Kershaw's caliber. But I just really think that today, they need to get the most out of him to try to be able to just hold off the Arizona Diamondbacks at least 1 game to get it back to LA and win another game, So I really, really think they need length out of him tonight. So that's why you've probably seen why he's been bumped to 12. But I still like it at 12. I wish, 11.5 is good, but the 3.5 hits, I think that is kind of crazy, especially if he was to go, let's say he goes 4 to 5 innings. I think he at least gives up 4 hits, 3 hits, somewhere in that range. But the line is just expected him to only pitch 4 innings, and I get why the because it has to correlate. So you can't have somebody pitching 15.5 innings and only giving up 2.5 or 3.5 hits. So it has to correlate. So I think that is a super low number for him, because he does get hit around a little bit, even though he managed to get himself out of those situations. So that's why they both can kind of correlate. He can give up 4 hits and still go 4 innings. Just if they're just singles, and they end up being double play balls that can work hand in hand as well. But I just think this is a really, really good spot for him going up against a Arizona team. Like I said, they are free swinging. He's not a big strikeout pitcher, but as you've seen, his last 3 starts, he's had 6 strikeouts, and then 4. And he's also pitched 6 innings, 5, 7 innings, and then 4 2/3, which will get you over that 12 line if he was to just pitch 4 innings and get 2 outs into the 5th inning. Or just all we really need is just 1 out in the 5th inning to be able to go over this prop. So that's one that I really, really like as well. So those are my picks for today. And also, I said that I was going to tell you guys other props that I was thinking of that I didn't add to my list. But how can you possibly go wrong with Mr. Yordan, or Air Yordan Alvarez, as I like to call him, because he has been on a heater. If you watched the game yesterday, this guy had 2 doubles and a home run. His fantasy was pretty much free. I don't really want to touch fantasy today, because I feel like because of yesterday, they might just try to intentionally walk him and try to just get him on base and try to get a double play out of it. Another one that is caught my eye a little bit is Eduardo Julian, over total bases. He is the leadoff hitter for them. He is a patient hitter. He basically has a really, really low strikeout percentage, so he will put the ball in play. If not, he will get walked. But I think they have his runs as well, but I don't want to bank on him having to get his teammates to knock him in, or unless he hits a home run and covers it himself. So I really like his total bases as well. Another thing I was looking at too is this is a Freddie Freeman and Mookie Betts game. I will go with their fantasy scores over 7.5, which I think is crazy low. I don't think this Brandon Fott, I think that's how you say his name. I don't think he will go deep into games, but or deep into the game tonight, excuse me. But that is another 2 that I really, really like their fantasy score. So Mookie Betts over fantasy score, as well as Freddie Freeman as well. You can go probably Matt Olson fantasy score over as well. At 6.5 seems a bit too low for him. But then again, granted, he's going up against Aaron Nola. So long as he doesn't do nothing crazy and hit a 3-run home run to kind of kill that correlation of Aaron Nola's fantasy score. Another thing I was looking at too. Actually, I'll give you guys two more. So Jose Urquidy, or however you say his name. His pitching outs look low. It looks good, but the only thing, I went back and watched his last start in the regular season. This guy throws a ton of pitches, like just unnecessary pitches where he's throwing pitches where, he might get himself into 2-0 counts, 3-0 counts, and that's something you don't want when you're facing, a team that's facing elimination. You don't want to give them chances to get on base and be able to score. But I really like his over pitching outs at 10.5. I think that is a solid number because one of two factors. For the first factor is that he pitches the contact. He's not a big strikeout pitcher. He's not a big, blow by you with fastballs and stuff like that. But he does use fastballs to basically, get all his other pitches going as far as like his changeup and his sliders and stuff. But if he pitches the contact, and then the second reason is because the Astros they're up, in this series, so they don't really need this game. Of course, they would like to just finish it early and just close it out, but they don't really need this game. And then the masterclass that Javier pitched yesterday, I don't think they really need to use their bullpen too much because their bullpen wasn't really taxed the game before. So I think they can afford to let him kind of pitch his way through this game. And I don't think Minnesota, to be honest, I don't think that they're this great offensive juggernaut team to be able to just light them up like that as well. So if he just pitches the contact and force them to put the ball in play, and he has really good defense, solid defense behind him to be able to get those outs, I think he can easily go over this. I think he can get anywhere between like 12 to 13 pitching outs, or he could, Dusty Baker might Dusty Baker today and pull him early and give him a quick hook, which is crazy to me because, like I said, they don't really need this game. It'll be cool. I think the offense will give him run support as well to go over this and be able to keep him in. So, like, if they score 2 or 3 runs early in the game, like within the first 3 innings, they will be more inclined to kind of keep him out there and let him kind of just eat innings, kind of like. So that's another play I was looking at as well. You can go with Urquidy over pitching outs. And then last but not least, another one that, well, actually, I'll give you 2 more. Actually, I lied. I'll give you 2 more. So Brandon Pfaadt. So this guy, he has hit this line of over 3.5 strikeouts in his last 12 starts. For what that's worth, that could be worth it could be worth a play at 3.5 strikeouts for him, especially against the Dodgers bottom half of their lineups, who I think is just pretty much guaranteed out. For the Dodgers lineup, that's why they've been, so bad so far in the first 2 games, because they haven't been able to get runners in scoring position home. They had the bases loaded. They've had multiple opportunities with runners in scoring position, but they just haven't had an opportunity to be able to score those guys. So I think he can get those strikeouts toward the bottom of the lineup, but it all depends on how much or how long the Diamondbacks manager allow him to go. And then last but not least, what was the last prop I was going to give you guys? Bryce Elder's pitching outs. Oh, they just took it off the board. I was going to say under on his pitching outs because this is his first playoff start. He is a young guy. It's probably his first playoff start, especially on the road in Philadelphia is a huge task, especially for somebody that hasn't been in that type of environment before. I know it's going to be ridiculously loud in Philadelphia tonight. So I think that, he can succumb to that and kind of start pressing, like especially if things don't go well early, he can start pressing and trying to force things and trying to overthrow pitches where he can walk a couple batters, So that could be in play as well, but they don't have it on the board anymore, so can't give that one out. So if they add it back at 11.5, 12, anywhere in that range, I could see the under playing in that as well. So those are my props that I have for you guys. I'll go back through them. Aaron Nola over 5 pitcher strikeouts. Aaron Nola over 25.5 pitcher fantasy score. Bryce Harper over 7.5 hitter fantasy score, as well as Lance Lynn over pitching outs of 12. They may have some recoil on this thing, where some people bet the under at 12 and it can go back to 11.5. Hopefully that works out in our favor. But I just think that he goes deep into this game. I think he pitches innings in this game, and it's just a perfect spot for him. Now, granted, he could go out there and get lit up. That's why I like the hedge spot of his hits allowed as well, just in case, he doesn't go, because most likely if he doesn't go the distance or it doesn't go that long, either he's throwing a lot of pitches. And another way too, I throw this in there too, to help you guys out too, is that you can go MLB Live and bet his pitches thrown, especially if they're starting to foul. Like I said yesterday, same concept for Javier, is like if they're starting to hit him around a little bit and they're starting to like get into like these long counts, 3-2 counts with like 7 pitches, 8 pitches, I can definitely see his over pitches thrown. Let's see, where is it at right now? So it's at 16.5. That's where it should be, especially for a pitcher like him. I think that it should be 16.5. It should say somewhere in that range. So just be on the lookout for that based on how he starts out pitching. Now, granted, he may settle into the game and be a little wild early on, so you may want to hop on him. Pitches thrown over in the first 2 innings, and he may like start to figure it out like the last 2 innings or whatnot. So that could be another play as well. But yeah, so those are my 4 or 3, as I like to say. So I appreciate you guys. Please like, comment, and subscribe. Best of luck. Hopefully we all cash on all 3 of these props. And I will see you guys tomorrow.